Hello chess lovers, welcome to the new video, new series. Actually not new series, but new tournament. A top level tournament started today in Norway. So the world champion is playing there, Magnus Carlsen, the challenger, his challenger. There will be a match in November for the world championship, Jan Nepomniachtchi. And we have the previous world championship challenger, Karyakin. Who else? And some young guns. Richard Rapport from Hungary, Tari from Norway, and that's Carlsen, Nepo, Karyakin, Tari. Yes, and Firuja. Firuja. Yeah, so 6 of them. 3 young guns and 3 also young but already established names. I mean, all of them are established, but 3 are rising stars and 3 are already established stars. So I'm gonna be looking at the game between Tari, the young Norwegian grandmaster, and Richard Rapport from Hungary. So Rapport was black and Tari was white. It started as an e4 opening, so we have a French defense, and after these moves Tari took on d5. So this is an exchange variation. It's as old as time, as they say. It's considered to be very quiet and not to give white much, but sometimes it's a good psychological choice because the positions that arise are not really a typical French defense positions. So we had bishop d3, knight d7. This is all typical, and now a pin. So black pinned white along this diagonal. So later he can put pressure on the d4 pawn. h3 was played and the bishop retreated. White castled, and we have knight bc6 targeting this pawn. If white is not careful, for example, if he just plays a normal move like rook e1, then that's a free pawn because there is a pin here. Okay, so Tari saw it, so he retreated the bishop, and now the queen defends the pawn and the pin is neutralized. But he lost time. He lost time, and it's already a small concession. Black castled, and we had a knight h4. I don't really understand this move. I don't know, probably it's above my level, but it leads to a position which is very unpleasant for white. Actually, it's a typical bad position that can happen in this opening. So let's see. First, black took on c3, and then there was another exchange, and now we have these doubled pawns, and we have a huge hole on c4 staring at us, and it's so easy to get there. It's so easy to get there, and once the knight gets there, the c1 bishop will have problems because all of these squares will be controlled, and here there are not many prospects. We'll see. That's exactly what happened actually. So rook e8, queen f3, getting away from this kind of business. Queen d7, controlling f5. So this knight is a little bit stupid now because it cannot jump there. Bishop was developed, and after knight a5, Tari placed a rook here so that when black jumps here and he goes back, the rook is not left on the queen side, far away from the battle. So knight c4, bishop c1, and this is what I was talking about. So maybe some of you have read a classic book by Aaron Nimzowitch, and in that book, he talks about blockade, weak squares, open file. And there was a game that had a very similar position to this one. I don't remember who was his opponent. Of course, some pieces were on different squares, but there was this knight dominating this bishop, and doubled pawn here. In that game, as far as I remember, Nimzovich's king was here, and actually somehow he used it later, something like that or like this, and he won a very instructive endgame. And it's very similar. It's very similar. It's very easy to play this position for black. I don't know what Tari was thinking when he entered this position, because even for a lower level player, if he's educated in classical, in chess classics, it's easy to understand that it's not good for white. This position is just not good. A fine move by black, a5. So he wants to use this rook, but since he doesn't see prospects here, he plans to join the action this way. Queen h5 was played. Rook a6, as mentioned, preparing to challenge the e-file even more. Knight f3, so knight was bad, it couldn't go there, so now it wants to create problems, but we kick the queen back, and after this move, an important move, f6, to control g5. You don't want to let white play here and create threats and make you move this h7 pawn, so f6, excellent move. Rook e2, preparing to double up on the bubble up, but knight f5, attacking the queen and attacking the rook. So there is no doubling. Doubling won't happen. So now black controls the e file. It's all as Nimzowitsch prescribed. If you find that game, unfortunately, I mean, I don't have perfect memory. I don't know who was his opponent, but there is a game in his book. So he had a knight here, bishop was there, double pawns, and then he challenged his opponent on the e-file, and after massive trades, he, as I mentioned, used his king. I don't remember, something like that, and he just won easily. And it's very similar to what Rapport is doing here. Of course, his opponent is stronger than Nimzovich's opponent, so there was a slight change but in the execution of the plan, but it's like watching Nimzowitsch play instead of Rapport. Queen went to f4, queen d7. So protecting c7 pawn. Rook e1, white temporarily gets the e-file, but as I said, temporarily. So after g5, queen g4, rook e6, challenging white on the e-file and getting closer to the endgame in which, as I mentioned, the c4 knight will dominate the c1 bishop. Here, of course, you cannot take this knight. Simple tactic, discovered attack, rook e1 check, knight e1, queen is lost. So Tari tried to complicate h4, but after rook e1, knight e1, queen came to e6, attacking the knight. The knight moved, and now queen e4 using the outpost. So this is called the outpost. If you have a square on the open file which is controlled by your pawn, that's the outpost. And Nimzowitsch said, put a piece on the outpost. When opponent trades, at the opportune moment, take with your pawn. Create a pawn majority. It's all textbook Nimzowitsch style. So from the first move until 27th move, it's just like it was 100 years ago when Nimzowitsch explained this method of play, and now we see two top grandmasters, Black Rapport doing as Nimzowitsch prescribed, and Tari unfortunately running right into it like he's a beginner. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to insult Tari. He is a promising player, but this was very naive from him. Very naive. This is just, I don't know. That's my opinion. I mean, I'm sure he read my system. I know the book is now outdated, but it's chess history. It's how you learn chess. At least that's how I learned. I don't know. I haven't read it for many years because my coach told me a long time ago that Nimzowitsch was a bad player. So I had some, I don't know, animosity unfounded towards him. But I read it. Recently, and I, I understand what black is doing here. So the queens were exchanged. That's what Nimzowitsch said. So there was, look, there was an outpost here on e4. Put the piece when opponent exchanges, take with the pawn and create pawn majority. And where is the pawn majority? Look, it's here. 4 pawns against 3 pawns. That's called majority. And here on the queen side, we have also 4 against 3, but because of this knight, they are not going anywhere. So it's like having an extra pawn. So knight went to c5, and there was an exchange of pawns. Black took on h4, white took on b7. Now black knight comes back to protect this guy when the knight goes back. Knight c5, knight fd6, as I described, and black wants to do this. That's why white played g4, but it's not good, because all black needs to do is approach with his king and then exchange this pawn, and then he will be left with 3 to 1. 3 to 1, even worse. That's what's gonna happen. So look, king f7, he's following my prescription. I mean, I'm not a genius, this is just basic stuff. So I said, move the king, play h5, exchange these 2 pawns, and then you have 3 against 1. White can resign. a4, h5, according to plan, g takes, king takes. And look at these pawns, look at them. They are just strong. King g3, f5. f4 is coming, and then what you gonna do? It's terrible. So Tari, he's good at calculation as a young grandmaster, so he tried to complicate stuff. After f4, he sacrificed a piece, hoping that black will recapture, and then his king will join the action, and maybe somehow, because black's king is a little bit far, maybe he can do something. But an intermezzo, knight f5 check. No, we're not gonna let your king enter the position. Okay, he cannot go here, but we're not gonna let him. So king went to the side, and then we take, we do give 2 pawns for the piece, but the important point is that king is not like here, but it's instead here, so it cannot do any damage in the center. And in a few moves, I'm not going to show the rest of the game, it's not very important, it's not too instructive. The first part was instructive. So now black is just a piece up, and he did had to fight for a win, because of course Tari is not just going to resign. He tried and he complicated well, but a piece is a piece in an endgame. So he won. But what was interesting to me is that there was a guy, this Aaron Nimzowitch. He wrote a book in 1925 called My System. Actually, he wrote some articles and then he compiled them into a book or 2 books, depends on the publisher. Some publishers made it as a one big book, like, I don't know, 500-600 pages, and some published it in parts. And he explained this method of play in this opening, and he played a similar game to this one 100 years ago. Okay, not 100, but 94 years, 96. Today is 2021, and that was 1925. And 100 years later, or 96 years later, we have 2 top grandmasters. And one of them, obviously, has studied this, and the other has probably studied it, but somehow ran into it with a smile, I guess. He obliged so happily. I mean, first he allowed doubling of the pawns, then he could not prevent the entrance of black's knight on c4. Then the e-file business, exchanging there and taking the outpost by black and putting a pawn, creating majority. This is all like, it's like reading a recipe and following it, and then another grandmaster lets you do it. Okay, I know Tari would dismantle me. He's much stronger than me. But this game He played very naively, I have to say. I wish him good luck in the following games and in his career. And thanks to these grandmasters for providing good material for my video. I hope you liked the game. I hope you learned something. I definitely recommend you to study Nimzowitch if you have the time and if you have his book. Alright, see you in the next video. Bye!